Hello there, this is David from David Books and Comics, and today I want to talk about Tarzan, Tarzan of the Apes, as created by Edgar Rice Burroughs. And what you're looking at is the very first issue of um, DC's Tarzan of the Apes, as drawn by Joe Kubert. Now, as I've read in the reference guide, the it's called the Comic Guide, Critical Assessment of 5,000 Titles of Comic Books. Joe Kubert apparently was the one who really contributed not just to the artwork, but also to the writing and editing of this series. This is the very first issue, so we'll do a look through that. And you're looking at the Ballantine Book Edition F745, a reading copy of the Ballantine Book Editions of Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzan of the Apes. And it has a cover by, oh gosh, let's see, the artist is, if at all listed. I think it's Bob Powell, but don't quote me. Yeah, I'm not sure who the artist is. Anyway, the first appearance of Tarzan, as many know, appeared in a serialized story, first in copyright by Frank A. Munsey in All Story Weekly in 1912. Copyright was renewed by Edgar Rice Burroughs in 1939. This is the first Ballantine printing from 1963. All right. And this is the same book in the series. You can tell it's a reprint. And it's this one is a mint copy of that. So that's Tarzan #1. All right. Now, Tarzan first appeared in comic books in a regular series published by Dell, starting back in the 1940s, and they feature some great photo covers featuring actors like Lex Barker and Gordon Scott. And this is one of the Gordon Scott issues, Tarzan. And you can see there, that's the artwork of, I believe, Jesse Marsh. So, Chasms of Opar. Opar is one of Tarzan's worlds. And as you can see, it's nicely conceived artwork, but it's not one of my favorite, obviously. I much prefer, and I think the best run in the series is the one I'm going to show, the one by Joe Kubert. All right, I don't want to wreck this book any more than I have. Just be careful here. Yeah, this is issue number 82 from 1956. Just at the cusp of the Silver Age, or the beginning of the Silver Age, if you want to say that. All right, so that's that. So that's that one. And they also part of the Tarzan mythos is the Korak series, and this is from Gold Key, and this is Silver Age. This is from 1968, Korak. And of course, Dell had a number of Jungle series. There was Kona, and this is from 1965, July, September. And this is the Dell series, and this is Turok. This is from number 65, April 1969. And this is a very good plus or fine copy, don't know what, of Turok, Son of Stone from Dell. This is number 24 from June and August 1961. Beautiful artwork, actually. All right, so that's the Turok. And so we'll look through this. So one of the things that Richard Lupoff mentions that I find kind of interesting was where Tarzan of the Apes, where the location of the story actually took place. And in the preface, he gives us a little hint as based on the hinting that's done in the novel. And according to Lupoff, and according to chapter 18 of Tarzan of the Apes, based on Jane Porter's letter, and Jane Porter will be featured in the first DC issue of Tarzan of the Apes. It says that it's 10 degrees south latitude. Now there is only one place in the southern hemisphere the 10th and adjacent parallels intersect the west coast of Africa. According to Lupoff and the letter, Tarzan was born in Portuguese Angola, or what was then Portuguese territory, which is now Angola's obviously free and independent, or an independent country. And anyway, so that's based on Lupoff's assessment. Anyway, we're looking at Tarzan of the Apes. And the story in the DC version starts off where the last quarter of the novel, of the Tarzan of the Apes novels, ends, or is ending, where Jane Porter makes her appearance. So basically we encounter Tarzan confronted with a panther, and we find Jane Porter's seeing this man finally defeat Tarzan, and then doing his famous victory cry of the great bull ape. So the story is recounted, the story of Tarzan's origin is recounted by this fellow, and it's kind of told in flashback, where the parents, the Greystokes, board a ship. The ship is basically controlled by pirates, and then eventually there's a mutiny, and the couple is left on the shores of Africa, which was then, according to Lupoff and Burroughs and Jane Porter's letter, in what was then Portuguese territory. But it's never obviously stated. It's just an abandoned region or an unknown or lost area of the jungles of Africa. And here we see Greystoke's child being born. We see the ending, the killing of one of the apes by Lord Greystoke. And then we see the apes. She's getting sick. She eventually dies. Kala's child dies. Kerchak, who's the chief of the ape tribe. And then Kerchak invades Lord Greystoke. Kala kidnaps the baby, and he's basically raised by Kala as an ape child. Eventually, the child makes his way to the cabin, learns the alphabet, and is basically self-taught. beautifully drawn by Joe Kubert. And then we move on to a picture of the creator, the master of adventure himself, Edgar Rice Burroughs. It says, born in 1875, died in 1950. This is a little history told by Marv Wolfman, and it tells where the character first appeared in All Story Weekly, where Tarzan of the Apes was written in 1912. Then it says, died 1950 and wrote 65 novels, including 25 Tarzan stories, 11 featuring John Carter, and then many others. And then we have a reprint of Hal Foster's Sunday strip from December 27, 1931, describing Tarzan's first Christmas. Kind of a retelling of his origin. And there's Kerchak, as drawn by Hal Foster. And yes, we have a treat. It's Murphy Anderson's version of John Carter of Mars, the best beautifully written, depicted version of John Carter that I've ever come across. Better than anything that Marvel or any other publisher has done, which includes Gold Key, I believe, did a John Carter version. But I love Murphy Anderson's very precise artwork. And here we have him running away, as is told in the first chapters of The Princess of Mars, where the character first appeared. And then we have that beautiful kind of mystical transition, as depicted by Anderson, of John Carter being transported into the planet on Mars. Beautiful artwork. We're introduced to the characters and the antagonists very quickly into the series. And then we have a beautiful splash page, poster-sized image of John Carter as drawn by Gray Morrow. So in essence, it's a beautiful book. And probably the best version of Tarzan that I've ever come across. The novel, Tarzan of the Apes. Let's see if it has, yeah. We go to the end. I love the conclusion of the Tarzan of the Apes story. The very last words are just memorable. And in the 3 issue, this is the first issue, there's 3 issues to follow, 207, 208, 209. And in the 3 issue retelling of this story, it ends in exactly the same way. So this is the last paragraph in the book. And it says, I was born there, said Tarzan quietly. My mother was an ape, and of course she couldn't tell me much about it. I never knew who my father was. And that's how it ends. And I don't know if Edgar Rice Burroughs ever intended the character to be returned into print. And I thought maybe he would end the novel right there, but he didn't. But anyways, so that's how it ends, and that's how the 3 issue, the first 3 issues, I'd say, it's a long continuity, by the way, in DC Comics. And that's how the first 3 issues of Tarzan of the Apes ends. So DC would go on to print the Tarzan of the Apes series up until about 53 issues. So it ends from 207 to 259. And like I said, I believe it's 207, 208, 209, and 210 that tell the entire first novel, Tarzan of the Apes, which I consider to be the best part of the, and probably one of the, if it had been contained in and of itself, it would have been fine as it was. The only, I would say, official person to actually build on the Tarzan mythos, I would say, to the extent that he could, was Philip Jose Farmer, and he was the one who was famous and instrumental in writing that book, Tarzan Alive, which almost implies that Tarzan, or gives you a sense that Tarzan was a real person. But anyway, Philip Jose Farmer subsequently went on to write two novels, and this is Daw book number 100. This is Haddon of Ancient Opar by Philip Jose Farmer. And this is Flight to Opar. So in Tarzan's Africa 12,000 years ago, so it says. And he was allowed to actually build on the mythos that Edgar Rice Burroughs created. And he says here, Philip Jose Farmer, chronicler of Tarzan Alive, teller of fabulous histories, and presents here for the first time the first great novel of Haddon of Ancient Opar. The artist, we can look and see, is Roy Krenkel. That's the cover artist. And I believe he's also the interior artist. Similarly with this one, illustrated by Roy Krenkel, and the interior art is also by him. All right, and it's these early editions of Daw are filled with the illustrations, much in the spirit of the creator, Edgar Rice Burroughs. Like I said, Farmer was given the permission to publish these novels, which I can tell you from other presentations I've done that the estate of Edgar Rice Burroughs had very tight control over their property. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this presentation on Tarzan of the Apes, as by Joe Kubert and DC Comics. And if you did, remember to give me that thumbs up. Click on thumbs up. And remember to do the like. And thanks everyone for subscribing. The subscription button will be right over here. And feel free to comment. Thanks. Bye.